Hello friends, thank you for visiting Bitcoin Adept. Today we will talk about the price of Bitcoin and our favorite altcoins, which are currently experiencing a lot of volatility. And when you wake up in the morning, they seem to have grown, but if you look at the weekly chart, it's still just as bad. So, you all know that Donald Trump once again mentioned the Federal Reserves, Bitcoin on air. And now there's this buzz going around in various chats on YouTube, on Telegram, on Twitter, that America wants to create its own reserve and Donald Trump is deliberately dumping Bitcoin right now. Somewhere down, it's unclear where exactly, probably to zero. Well, that's a joke to buy it up and create a reserve. But I have a feeling that they have long since created a Bitcoin reserve. Not exactly a reserve, just this whole scheme with Bitcoin. I think it's a project of the US Federal Reserve. Originally created by some Satoshi Nakamoto, it's all the same person. And I think they have several million Bitcoins in total, because some Satoshi Nakamoto kept a large portion of the Bitcoins for himself. The majority could be mined at the very beginning of Bitcoin's movement, the first 3 years at very low prices. And in the same way, you can buy up a large portion of Bitcoin and then show everyone, look, a certain asset that follows such predictable 4-year cycles. Later, I will tell you why everyone does this. These are the patterns that are drawn for us on the chart. And someone might say now, well, after all, it was only recently that Donald Trump started talking about reserves. And that's true, he did start talking recently. But guys, don't underestimate. These people who created the US dollar are not some simpletons living day by day. Something happened in their minds. They looked at Bitcoin assets and decided to create reserves. I think this moment was planned several years ago, maybe 10, 20, or even 30 years ago. And now only some aspects are starting to be revealed to which we had no access and we don't even know what they are. Things might be prepared for the future, but we can only speculate. So the leader of such a country will never tell you at first that he wants to create reserves and only then will he create these reserves. It's clear that before saying anything, they must have already bought up a large portion. And now look, guys, does Donald Trump need cheap Bitcoin? That is to drive it downwards. Supposedly to buy for a reserve, which I think they already have, 100%. Although they might pretend, yes, that look, there were transfers from such and such wallets, showing us some anomaly there. Yes, blockchain, such financial tricks. And everyone will say, oh, great, yes, you bought 100,000 for the reserve, let's say in Bitcoin, in some unfortunate ones. And accordingly, Donald Trump doesn't need to dump Bitcoin. By no means. So that other countries also do not create their reserves at low prices. Why? Let the other countries join this race when the price of Bitcoin is already going up, thus pushing the price up. And accordingly, the whales and big players, the creators of Bitcoin, they will be offloading at that moment. And it seems, well, Bitcoins, I assume they have them. Guys, these are just my thoughts. But a large number of altcoins from which they want to create a reserve, like ETH, Solana, what else, ADK, and XRP. I think they, well, possibly have them. They have already purchased all of this in this and the previous cycle. But it is quite possible that they want to buy more now. Yes, that's why they are dumping the market. Firstly, it's because they want to buy more. And secondly, they want to drive you out of altcoins, meaning they are dumping altcoins. Even if you switch to the daily chart, you can see this is our chart with Bitcoin showing that Bitcoin's movements, if upwards, are very fast and sharp. You see, right? A few such moments, a few days, and that's it. We have gone through quite a long phase. And then we have this kind of fluctuation where on the downward moves, on each downward move, altcoins, they weaken significantly in relation to Bitcoin and some even in relation to stablecoins. And this kind of shakeout from altcoins happens constantly. So you see how quickly we came up with Bitcoin and how long we stayed in this. There was a sideways movement, although below we didn't go down to this zone in the sideways movement. You see, but altcoins once again became cheaper, especially during these downward movements. Yes, but during these downward movements and during upward movements, for some reason, they didn't grow as much as they fell. So you understand, yes, that these upward movements from the Bitcoin bottom, yes, they happened sharply. And then A long period of fluctuation with a downward move, then suddenly, boom, we came back to fluctuation, 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 again with a sad downward move. They do this to slow down the growth of altcoins. That's one. And secondly, to shake you out of these altcoins. Because firstly, they can buy these altcoins from you at cheap prices. And secondly, you won't be creating pressure when some of these altcoins reach their peak values against Bitcoin. And you shouldn't be there. Well, rather, you shouldn't be selling altcoins at maximum prices. Ideally, you should be buying them at maximum prices. Therefore, my thoughts are that right now there is a shakeout, not only from Bitcoin, but mainly from altcoins. Now let's add my signal indicators to the Bitcoin chart. This is a 3-day chart. It seems like Bitcoin has slowly started its recovery. 8,700, but you have seen how bright the last few days have been for Bitcoin, especially for altcoins as well. Up and down. Let's add the first signal indicator, Ishimoku Cloud Adept. But on a global scale. On the 3-day chart, we still have strong signals upward. This is regarding the global situation. Let's look at the 1-day chart. But on the 1-day chart, we have consolidation going up, then down. So here, presumably, there might still be some fluctuation in the medium term, but the turning point is important to us. Let's look at the 4-hour chart. So here we previously had all strong signals. Now slowly, weak signals are starting to emerge, upward. This is a good sign. And so this is the 4-hour chart. Ichimoku Cloud Adept, let's look at the Golden Grail. Let's see if there are any signals here. No. The last signal was for selling. So far there is nothing for buying. Well, let's do the last one. Bitcoin Adept, buy and sell. Updated indicator. Currently, there is no signal either. There was a sell signal at some point, but now the signal is not active. This indicator should be observed at the moment when the signal for buying or selling is active on the current candle. When recording a video, it rarely happens that you can time it so that a signal lights up exactly on the 4-hour or medium-term time frame. On the minute charts, it's clear that signals often light up and change frequently. But we are more interested in such medium-term and long-term signals. This is a 3-day chart, but there was only a buy signal from February 27th. Again, there is nothing at the moment. I strongly recommend guys to install all my signal indicators and join our trading chats. It's absolutely free. The video description explains how to do all this. And now let's say a few words about altcoins. So here we have it, the Bitcoin dominance chart. Let's switch to the weekly chart. At some point, we reached here in terms of dominance at 61%. Dominance. Then it sharply went down. Everyone decided that the altcoin season had begun and that altcoins would start to rise. But guys, as we went down, we slowly returned to these levels again. And we stopped at them. And I think we will remain at these levels until all investors holding a large number of altcoins are shaken out of the market. This happened in the previous cycle. Here we arrived at the lower dominance levels, after which dominance grew approximately like this time. Currently, our dominance has grown very organically, very steadily. In the previous cycle, we had growth, then it fell, then there was a shift back to altcoins. But when we got here to the peak of dominance and slowly started going down, meaning altcoins began to gain strength, at that moment, it seemed that everything was going quite smoothly. Many had a lot of altcoins. Well, not everyone, of course. Most were complaining that altcoins wouldn't bring anything. The bear market had started. Altcoins were a scam and so on, but many still held on to their altcoins. And guys, altcoins didn't shoot up at that moment. You understand, right? This is the Bitcoin dominance chart. But if our chart is going down accordingly, it means the strengthening of altcoins relative to Bitcoin or a flow from Bitcoin into altcoins. And here we came a second time in terms of dominance to the same values. And here in the second part, yes, potentially as we arrived, there were very cheap prices for altcoins and many people exited them. And only then did the flow start and a bright alt season began. Could the same thing happen now? Quite possibly. So for me, some people write, pay attention to Ethereum, as it can be said to be the father of all altcoins. And if you switch to a non-logarithmic normal chart, which visually looks like this, what now? Such a large peak has passed. I mean, it passed in 2021. The maximum values were... Before that, the cycle mark was quite small. And now we are generally in such a zone that is approximately at the support level relative to the time that has passed since the bottom of Bitcoin. To today's values of the overall bullish cycle for Bitcoin, this is in general a very good price. If you decided to buy more, it's clear, this is not financial advice. I just do it this way, although I accumulated a sufficient amount of Bitcoin and Ethereum a long time ago, I still sometimes buy more Ethereum and some altcoins. And some people say, well, look at how high the peak was. How much higher can it go? But it's the same, guys. If I stretch out this previous peak, we were also right here. Yes, before it went up, everyone was saying, well, look, Ethereum is already there. It reached $1,500. How much higher can it go? But guys, it turned out it could go higher, reaching $4,800, and the same thing could happen again. And this time, we will look at this cycle, or rather the previous one, and see how small it was. Yes, and now we have something quite large. Therefore, the size on a non-logarithmic chart for Ethereum doesn't really say much. Now let's switch to the monthly chart, and here I'll show you something. Well, basically the same thing that was on the weekly chart. This is our 50-day moving average. And at these levels, the moving average in general were good zones for Paolo buying Ethereum. And now, once again, we've dipped below this moving average. We've dipped below it more than once. You see that? Yes, here we dipped quite significantly. But it's quite likely out of that we will also emerge and go upwards. And many people are now saying, listen, most likely we're heading into a bear market. We've reached this point. To the upper unloading zone, now we're going down. These are the established opinions in the chats. But I'll tell you, at these maximum values, when will you, and even when we go lower, you will feel completely different emotions. You will want to buy this asset because you will be 100% sure that it will soar to 1 million, or it doesn't matter if we're talking about an altcoin and by how much. The market always behaves this way. And at the same time, the market acts in such a way that with the slightest corrections in Bitcoin, which can occur even before reaching maximum values, it will seem to you that a bear market has already started, that it is about to begin, because there is no positivity. Everything is bad, there are wars, depressions, and so on. That is right here. During the unloading, when there is a real unloading of Bitcoin, everyone will think that Bitcoin will soar upwards. And because of this, many people will buy it here. Therefore, psychologically, it only works this way. But in reality, what will happen, we will see very soon. I think this year, and once again, I remind you that these are just my thoughts, that this is not some accomplished fact, that Bitcoin will go even higher, that the bear market stage hasn't started yet. That's just how I think. And what do you think? Be sure to write in the comments under this video. That's all for now. Subscribe to this YouTube channel if you want to hear my thoughts on the price of Bitcoin and altcoins. Also add all my signal indicators. Join our trading chats yourself. Fortunately, it's absolutely free. Thank you to everyone who watched this video to the end. Bye all.